Hello, everybody. Brian here. Today is Sunday, the 25th of October. Today, we're going to talk about the lack of opportunities out there um, for forex trading, CFD. This leads into also futures trading. I always say futures and options, the poor man's gateway, which can be done via CFDs and FX. So let's take a look at here where you can take a look in my PC here, and you can see here we have an excellent score. I only look at those. So what's going on here is we've got euro and British pound. You can see it's been flat really, but there's some pockets of opportunity there as these euro zone and Britain do their final negotiations on the Brexit. So there's some opportunity there if there's some enthusiasm. This is another classic defense play, euro against the Swiss franc, predictability or not. Here I would have thought that there would have been some really nice opportunities with the New Zealand dollar or the Australian. Clearly you could see this is the case. We have shorts here, here again, another one. So if you're into shorting, you got opportunities in the British pound and the Australian dollar, even the US dollar and the Japanese yen is shorting. And you can see over time, even the silver and different currencies, they're they're not long as well. So you always hear about the coming rally. I do think that it's just a setup. Call it conspiracy, but the banks or whoever will say, "Oh yeah, there's an opportunity in silver. You can see here. If that was the case, why are we seeing a short opportunity here instead of a long?" And you have all the different currencies here as well. So don't get sucked in that. Same with gold as well. XAG. So those are not looking good either. This is where it gets interesting. You have platinum, which is long. Never hear talk about that. If I was to look at the daily view, you can see there's some, but it's been flat pretty well since April. It even went down during the March drop as well. So who knows what to believe here? But these are where the real opportunities I'm finding may actually happen. Is when you look at USD China Yuan. There's some opportunity there, but it's been a steady decline as well for this currency. But short-term wise, there might be some opportunity. You can see here the daily view. It's all been flat. So if you're a long-term buy and hold investor, these are not the places to be. It's very short-term if you're going to make any money, but it is definitely a challenge. But here we are seeing three long opportunities with the U.S. dollar and the rupee. So I mean, that's a pretty convincing place to be, but long term, it's just not the place that looks to be good. Then you get into all these exotics. But here we have the UK 100, the British stock market. I do think that there is some opportunity here, but it's just been classic flat, has not really recovered at all. So, you know, I think that's obviously a Brexit play. But once the Britain does come out of the Brexit negotiations, I think England, UK should be a place to watch because, hopefully they'll be able to get into some kind of recovery mode. Again, you see here just shorting. Everything's just in the toilet, and these are the excellent scores. So these are somewhat the opportunities out there. They're not looking good. For a while, I would have said the Australian dollar was looking at. It looks pretty solid there from September. And that's why I'm starting to hopefully see more of these blue green bars versus the red. And that's with the Australian dollars. So that's what I'm hoping for. So we could see here we have some long pound. The British pound and the Australian dollar might have some opportunity there. But who knows? Here's a concern. Usually when the US dollar, you not one big overall trend you need to see here is the US dollar in US dollar is not top picks with excellent scores. Um, it just, even if there was, it's not really sustainable. So these are, if you do see it, it's just for a short time and maybe a day or two. That's what I'm finding. But here I'm finding, because of that lack of long-term insight of using US dollar, the ones that seem to be picking up a little bit is the Scandinavian and Eastern Europe, like Poland, Hungary, Czech, Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. When things go really bad, so those are the safe havens to be in. Um, you can see here some confidence, and it just tapers back. These are all the typical trends you'll find even in crypto. One thing before I forget about crypto is that's why you're starting to see a little bit of crypto volume over the last week is because of the US dollar. You do get the stories of PayPal and whatever else you think would be a long-term um, news pop that would put the likes of Bitcoin and other big coins to have sustainable long-term gains, but it's proven that it's not, and it's all tied back to the U.S. dollar performance. And from an institutional point of view, that would make sense because putting money right now is either U.S. Treasury or U.S. dollar to get any kind of yield. But overall, there's been really not a lot. I mean, there's been quite a bit of yield in the U.S. markets, but right now, that's not the case. So it's all related around U.S. dollar, and if the dollar's not giving it to you, they'll probably put in some capital into the likes of Bitcoin and the futures. So that's why I think we're seeing what we're seeing. Even Germany, the Deutsche 10-year bond dropping. I don't know what to tell you. We even have the Deutsche 30 markets just dropping. And when you look at the overall recovery, it's recovered, which is good, but it's gone flat. So it's been very difficult to trade that. We have the Euro CHF. It's got a long, but again, when you look at the overall strength from April, it has gone up, which is good, and it may bounce back. We don't know. But this one, between the Euro and here's an interesting, here's the Euro British pound has gone up when the crisis hit. So these are the areas you want to focus on if it does happen again. But this time I don't think it'll happen just due to the fact that, these Brexit negotiations aren't going to be final. So I don't know if we can predictably say that this is going to be another safe haven trade. Euro, New Zealand. I always thought New Zealand had some overall potential. It's gone flat again. But again, you're not seeing a whole lot of US dollar in there. And that's one of the big reasons why I'm making this video here. And even if I go into the very good score here, you may see some opportunities come up, let's say this week. But again, it's all been short, short, short. Here's Australia, New Zealand. Let me check that out. Long term, that's looking actually pretty good. And I will tell you, with Australia and the combination of New Zealand, they have been recovering quite nicely. And I think that's one of the reasons why people are putting more money into Australia, New Zealand, because that's, I think, where some of them, out of the major currency pairs, that's where a lot of growth will be. And again, here we have Australia, Canada. Funny enough, I would have thought Canada would be a safe haven trade. Clearly, it's not, and that's all related around as a commodity currency around oil. So that's, I mean, it's done all right. But you're not seeing a lot of Canadian dollar there for whatever reason. Might be the government taxation. Who knows? So here we sit looking at, now here's where it gets interesting. This is Sweden. Okay, so let's look at the one daily. Not much, but again, you can see these run-ups here. This is what I like to see. but it's drifted back. I think that's related around U.S. dollar and U.S. markets. But you can see here it barely got a blip impacted by the U.S. global calamity in the markets in March. It actually went up, but didn't go up a lot compared to other currencies. But it's held its own. But this is one of the combination currencies I'd be on the lookout for as a safe haven if there is another market calamity. British pound, very volatile. You can see the ups there, but it's hard to trade that if you're not using automation. Again, what I like to see here are these three combinations. These are kind of yelling at you that there is opportunity here of this pair of three of them because they're longing. And again, for those that are new to this, is using harmonic patterns. And there are some opportunities, but they're very hard to predict. This one was one that was screaming as an excellent score on Thursday, Friday. So this might be one to watch, and that's the U.S. dollar and Canadian. So that's a 1 hour view. You can see that, but you can see on the daily, it's just been going down. I think really, to be honest, it says something about the Canadian dollar and the Canadian economy. It's just getting worse and worse in Canada. So people don't have a lot of confidence in Canada with the job losses and whatnot. You can see here the U.S. dollar and Norwegian's an interesting one to watch, but it's been in a steady decline as well. But I do think, but that's a short as well. But here, interesting enough, it's along with the USD and Sweden, so that would be something to watch. What I was hoping to see was more of the gold-silver ratio, but I haven't seen it lately, which means obviously it's not a top pick. But a lot of these very good scores are just not very good. They're not excellent, but they're not on for long term to do a buy and hold. It's you got to really watch them as they start to show weakness. You get out. It's the same with silver and gold. You can't do a buy and hold anymore on those so much because there's going to be something out there outperforming it. But a lot of these do not come off, screaming at you that these are, opportunities. Not much to talk about, but I'm sure we'll find something. But crypto is one to watch. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. Just wanted to show you this and let you know that there is, I'm sure, opportunity. Here's the gold-silver ratio. It's been done well here in March, April. I'm sorry, I was in September. Let me bring up the daily. So it's done all right, but we've already seen that some of the other currencies have done better than this, which used to be a very predictable trade. Let's see what it says right now. It's probably a short. Yeah, it's a short. All right. So we'll leave it at that. Let's see, how much more is there? Oh, very good. Let me just go through these. And there's a lot of very good, but I'll go through these real fast. Okay, so there's the Brent Crude Oil. And Brent Crude Oil has done nothing really long term. So we have British pound to Canadian dollar. That's a long. But again, they're just other better currencies to be part of. And I think Scandinavia, be it Sweden or Norway, is a good place. Again, these really don't excite me. And I think a lot of it has to do with debt of the country that you're going to put money into. I mean, look at the Euro 50. That's pretty sad. And Scandinavia and Eastern Europe are considered potential safe havens because they have very little debt. And I think that's part of it. Probably a better managed country as well. Euro, Hungary. Let's see how Hungary's done from the Euro side. Yeah, Euro's done quite well against the Hungary, so this might be a good one. Here's Euro against the Swedish. That one's a little flat, but the other one, Hungarian's done really well. South Africa, that looks like it's done okay. the spread. So here we get into the likes of the SPX 500, which is the spot S&P. That's done very well. That's been a nice recovery, but it's been flat. You can see it's gone into a decline, and it's starting to maybe pick up in the last few days here. So who knows? I'm hoping to see more of that. But if that stimulus does come through, then the stimulus will spark the U.S. dollar, will spark the markets in the U.S., but that will be very short term, and it's not a long term fix for the problems that the U.S. has. And I think at some point that bubble has got to burst at some point, and that's where we have to look for these safe haven trades. Australia, New Zealand, this one looked pretty strong. Yeah, I like that. That one I could see doing well as an alternative to be in. The Australian U.S. dollar, that's not bad. I like what I see coming out of Australia, New Zealand. But when you look at the Canadian dollar, which you think should be pretty strong, here the Canadian CHF Swiss is just not recovered. The being in Canada myself, it's been a shit show with our politicians here, local politicians, that have just been spend, and not give a rat's ass about the long term impact it has. I think we'll end up where we were under the end of Brian Mulroney to Kretchen, where the country was pretty close to bankruptcy, and they're going to have to bring in some major cost cutting, like they did in the early '90s, which was not a good thing. We also have here euro against the British pound. That's not bad. It's strong. Again, let's see how the Japanese yen has recovered. That's been pretty good, but you can see it's barely blipped, and it's actually higher. That's a good hold there. Euro and the Norwegian, yeah, it hasn't recovered at all. It's surprising, but we'll leave it at that. As I said, I'll be covering this in my webinar on Monday, next day. So hopefully we'll see you then, and we'll talk about some of this stuff. We shall talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a good day.